I'm going to speak about the new section in the BI-RADS lexicon. And the first section is density. So we have already spoke about that, but let's talk a little bit. So question, how do you quantify the breast density in this patient? Any idea? So first of all, we don't speak about density. It's not X-ray, it's MRI. So we have to speak about the amount of fibroglandular tissue. Here it's heterogeneous. And we have also to quantify the background parenchyma enhancement, which is moderate here. So the best sequence to quantify the amount of fibroglandular tissue is probably the T1 sequence without fat sat, without suppression of the fat signal. And the best sequence to quantify the background parenchyma enhancement is probably the T1 after contrast injection and with the subtraction. So we have to quantify, when you want to quantify the density, you have to do both the amount of fibroglandular tissue, which could be almost entire fat, scattered, heterogeneous, or extreme. And the BI-RADS insist on the fact that you have to give the name, so almost entire fat, for example, and also to add the type. So here, for example, almost entire fat, you have to add type A. So you have to use both. It's to make that more clear. For the background parenchyma enhancements, we have 4 levels also: minimal, type A, mild, type B, moderate, type C, and marked type D. Then, as we have already seen, you have to say if it's symmetric or asymmetric. So, for example, here, quickly, you have here almost entire fat, type A, scattered fibroglandular tissue, type B, heterogeneous, type C, and extreme, type D. For the background parenchyma enhancement, you have, for example, here the minimal. Here's a huge cancer, but here the background parenchyma enhancement is minimal type A here, mild type B here, moderate type C, and marked type D. Question: does density impact lesion detectability in your?
Yes.
Yes. No.
Well, you say density. If you're talking MRI, you're talking about.
I'm talking about MRI. So in the last version of the BI-RADS, they say actually based on different papers that no, actually the amount of fibroglandular parenchyma does not adversely impact the lesion detectability. Because here you have, for example, an heterogeneous type C fibroglandular tissue, and you can really well see the tumor here with a different extension here. So for the background parenchyma enhancement, actually no, it doesn't affect the ability to detect breast cancer. You can have false positive, as we have seen this morning, but not. But you always can see the lesion. So, for example, you have to pay attention of the timing. For example, here at 2 minutes you can see this lesion. After 8 minutes you cannot see it anymore. So it's very important to have this dynamic acquisition and to select the good timing to detect the lesion. Question: does density impact the risk of breast cancer? Yes, no, I don't care. So actually, the former paper who talk about breast cancer risk compare 10% of the population, so extreme fibroglandular tissue, to 10% which was almost entirely fat. And when you do this comparison, you will find a relative risk of 4, which is huge, but it's just for 20% of the population. You cannot apply that for the whole population. When you compare just this extreme group of fibroglandular tissue to the rest of the population, the relative risk, as you can see, is only 2. And when you compare 50% of the population, which is C plus D, compared to scattered and almost entirely fat, you can see the relative risk is 1.2, so this is the same. So actually it doesn't really change the risk. The densities don't really change the risk. just to remind you, be careful of the symmetry when you describe the breast density. And I remind you, but we have already seen an example of that there is a greater enhancement. It's not rare to see that. There is a greater enhancement in the upper outer quadrant and along the inferior due to the preferential blood supply. As you can see, this is not rare to have this enhancement like that. This is completely normal. I had this case 2 weeks ago. This is a lady, a young lady, 30 years old, came for breast biopsy under ultrasound because she has performed this MRI and they found this enhancement here. So I tried to detect a lesion on ultrasound and I find nothing. So what do you recommend in that case? A biopsy under MRI, stereotactic biopsy, control at 6 months, speak with the patient, ask a friend? Not sure. It's always good to speak with the patient. So I asked her when she did perform her exam, and we have already spoke about that. It's very important to perform MRI during the second week of the cycle. And she said, no, I did that at the end of my cycle. So we did again this MRI, as you can see, the same example that's what you showed previously. There is nothing anymore. So ask the patient, speak with the patient. So let's talk about the focus now. So there is not a lot of change in the new version of the BI-RADS on focus. It's still a small dot of 5 mm, too small to characterize morphologically. And they remind us the suspicious finding for the focus. So unique and distinct from the background parenchyma enhancement is suspicious when there is no bright signal on T2, when there is not fat hilum, when there is a washout enhancement, and when the increase between two different MRI. So what do you think about these enhancing dots? Nothing. So actually, if you compare, there is exactly the same dots in both breasts. They are completely symmetric. It's here, sorry. It's completely symmetric in both breasts. So this is also associated with bright T2 signal. So this is actually benign. This is just a fibroglandular tissue. So in the previous version of the BI-RADS, we have this definition, the stippled enhancement. No, it's disappeared in the new version, and we just have to speak about background parenchyma enhancement. What do you think about that one? Here you can see this is different. This one is different than the other one. In the previous, all dots were similar. Here, this one is a little bit brighter than the other one. So this is not regular. So if you take the enhancement curve, there is a washout. It could be difficult to measure a kinetic on these small dots, but here we were able to do that. You can see there is a washout. So this is not really suspicious, but you have to be careful and classify that by RADS 3. This is a ugly ducking. It should be, all dots should be the same. What do you think about this patient? This is a 64 years old patient. She had an history of IDC of the left breast, and she presents a new left breast nipple discharge. So this is the image a little bit larger. What do you think? No pitfall. So if you look at the T1 sequence, there is a fatty hilum. This is a bright signal. So I said it was a lymph node, so see you in 1 year to the patient. It wasn't a good idea, actually. It wasn't a good idea. She came back 1 year later, and as you can see, the lymph node is not a regular lymph node. It's increased in size significantly. And in your mind, where is my mistake? In your opinion? My mistake is very important to know. This patient had a previous cancer in the left breast, and she came with a new clinical symptom. The new clinical symptom is, you have to pay attention of that. It's really important. even if the MRI says there is nothing, it looks benign, you have to perform an ultrasound and to biopsy this lesion. This is not normal to have this clinical symptom. So I should, in 2010, perform an ultrasound and biopsy the lymph node, even if it looks normal, because of this symptom. So let's talk about mass enhancement now, quickly. So the definition didn't change. You see still an area of enhancement with an epicenter and convex border, like this one. You can see there is a convex border. Okay, so the lexicon simplify is much more simplified than previously. They try to do the same description than in mammography. So now with the shape is only could be a mass could be oval, round, or irregular. So margin are simplified also. It could be circumscribed or not circumscribed with irregular or speculated border. There is no more indistinct or something like that. So you see it's really simpler. And you have to describe the internal enhancement. So it could be homogeneous, heterogeneous. You can have an rim enhancement and a dark internal enhancement. No more central enhancement and things like that. So here, quick, I'm not sure you can see, yes you can see, a quick algorithm to interpret the mass when you have the mass on the MRI. So first of all, try to see if there is some fat, if there is some bright T2 signal or non-enhancing finding. In the majority of the case, this is a BI-RADS 2. So then you have to see the shape. If the shape is irregular, you know this is this is at least a BI-RADS 4 lesion. This is very easy. Shape irregular, BI-RADS 4. So then you look at the margin. If the margin are circumscribed or irregular, this is still BI-RADS 4. If there is speculated margin, this is BI-RADS 5. As you have seen, I didn't use a curve here. You don't need the curve, you can interpret things like that. So if the shape is round or oval, then look at the margin. If the margin are irregular, this is a BI-RADS 4, no need the curves. If the margin are speculated, this is BI-RADS 5. If the margin are circumscribed, you cannot classify that. So you have to look at the internal enhancement. If the internal enhancement is heterogeneous, or if you have a rim enhancement, this is a BI-RADS 4, no curves. If the internal enhancement is homogeneous, you cannot classify. So you need, and this is the only case in which you need the curves. So this is a mass who looks benign. So you need the curve here. So the curve show a persistent enhancement. This is BI-RADS 3. If there is a plateau or washout, this is a BI-RADS 4. So some example here. What do you think about that? So this is a mass with a bright T2 signal. There is dark septal enhancement, non-enhancing within the lesion. So this is a fibroadenoma. This is pathognomonic. Here you have, how do you interpret this mass? So this is oval mass, irregular margin, and a rim enhancement. Irregular, this is a BI-RADS margin, this is BI-RADS 4. A rim enhancement, this is a BI-RADS 4, no curves. And you need to perform an ultrasound. What do you think about that? Resident? BI-RADS 4 or BI-RADS 2? 2, yes, of course, this is a cyst. This is inflammatory cyst. You have a bright signal on T2. This is very easy. This one is easy too. Irregular shape. So this is BI-RADS 4 at least. The rim irregular also. So this is BI-RADS 4. What do you think about that? Shape irregular, BI-RADS 4. But there is speculated, so BI-RADS 5. This one. Very bright signal on T2. It's oval, circumscribed, homogeneous. What do we need? Can we classify that? We need the curve. So this is a curve, it's progressive. So this is BI-RADS 3, this is a fibroadenoma. What do you think about this one? Looks similar than the previous one. The only difference is there is no bright T2 signal, but it's still oval, circumscribed, homogeneous. We need the internal, so it looks benign, so we need the curves. So this is the curves, there was washout, so this is BI-RADS 4. Okay, let's speak about non-mass enhancement now. So the definition didn't change. This is a pattern that does not have convex border and may contain fat or normal fibroglandular tissue. And they had a sentence very useful for us. For the very large mass, you can interpret that like a non-mass. I have a lot of residents who showed me that, why this is not a mass or not mass. No, this is the same when you have a large mass, you can consider that like a non-mass enhancement. So, what you have to describe, it didn't change, so I will do that quickly. It could be, the distribution could be diffuse, could be focal. So this is confusing term because focal here means this is a non-mass, but it takes less than 1 quadrant of the breast. So you have to distinguish that than the foci we have seen at the beginning of this topic. So it could be also regional, it could be multiple regions, usually okay, and you have linear branching and segmental enhancement. We will see some example later on. And then you have to describe the internal enhancement, and as you can see, this is more, it's simpler than previously. Now the internal enhancement can be homogeneous, heterogeneous, clump, or clustered ring. So there is no more the dendritic enhancement and things like that. So it's simpler. So still the algorithm to interpret non-mass. First of all, you have to make sure this is not background parenchyma enhancement. And then you look at the non-mass enhancement. Is it diffuse? If it's diffuse, it's going to be benign. So first of all, you look if it's symmetric or not. If it's symmetric, usually this is background parenchyma enhancement, and you can classify that by 2 or at least by 1 because this is normal. If it's asymmetric, you have to see if there is some cyst. If there is some cyst, this is by 2. If there is no cyst, this is by 3. On the other side, you have to see if it's, the distribution is localized. It could be regional. If it's regional, it's at least about 4. Then you look at the internal enhancement. It could be homogeneous or clump. So if it's the case, this is about 4. And if there is a clustered ring, the positive value, predictive positive value is more than 96%, as you can see. So this is about 5. So if you have a non-mass localized oriented to the nipple, it could be a linear enhancement. If it's homogeneous or clump, the predictive positive value is something like 14. So this is about 4. If it's segmental, homogeneous or clump, this is about 4. If there is a clustering, you have about 5 lesions. So clustered ring is like speculated for the mass. When you have that, this is about 5. So this is some example. How do you interpret that? So you have a diffuse enhancement. This is asymmetric because this ladies have a previous mastectomy, so you cannot compare. So we have to say this is asymmetric. This is clump. So there is no bright signal. So this is bright 3 because it's diffuse. How do you interpret that? Okay. First of all, look at the reconstruction. Make sure it's not oriented to the nipple, so there is not oriented. So you are in the side of the regional lesion. So this is regional. It's homogeneous. So this is about 4. This one is not diffuse. So we are in the side of not diffuse lesion. It's at least by 4. This is linear. Okay, still by 4. This is homogeneous. This is by 4. So risk here of cancer is 14, something like that. And then this is a young patient, 20 years old, but she has a mutation BRCA1. So how do you interpret that? You have to do the reconstruction. You see very well this particular shape oriented to the nipples. So this is a segmental enhancement. It's homogeneous. So segmental is by 4, homogeneous still by 4. If I show you the previous MRI performed 1 year before during the screening, she had nothing. So this evolution, this progression, push you to classify that by 5. And you have to perform mammography to look at whether there is macro classification. She has very small macro classification. I'm not sure you can see that on the screen, but she had some macro classification here. We had performed a macro biopsy and she was a DCIS, high-grade DCIS. Next patient, now it's, how do you interpret that? Okay, I go quickly. You have first to perform, this this reconstruction to make sure this is, to distinguish if it's a regional or oriented to the nipple. So here it's you have a real orientation to the nipple. This is clump, so this is Barrett 4. And the last example here you have how do you interpret that? So this is not oriented to the nipple, so this is a regional enhancement, and you have this typical example of clustered ring. So you can see this is some small ring here, and in this example I can show you another sign. This is a blooming sign. As you can see at 2 minutes the lesion measure, I don't know, maybe something like 4 centimeters, and after the lesion looks larger, bigger. So the lesion didn't change, but this is this blooming sign which makes the lesion bigger on the late acquisition. So clustered ring, this is Barrett 5, and blooming sign is also Barrett 5. So new section in the BI-RADS lexicon is non-enhancing findings. It's not very interesting actually. This is a ductal pre-contrast eye signal on T1. You have that here, you have this bright signal here. This is benign actually. And you have also this post-operative change here, the collection after surgery. Actually there is a reconstruction by a Dieppe in this patient, and it's not uncommon to have seroma in the breast reconstruction. Like here, watch out of that. It's common to have that. We just have to make sure there is no enhancement within the speculated lesion. This is just scar. If there is an enhancement, you have to perform a biopsy, of course. No enhancing findings, post-therapy thickening of the skin and trabecular thickening. Here you have this right breast with the skin, and you can see this trabecular very well. And the last example of non-enhancing findings, this is a mass, but as you can see, there is absolutely no enhancement. We have to pay attention that there is enhancement in the heart, so this is not a technical issue. It was an hamartoma. Associated feature didn't change so much, so we still have the nipple retraction, like in this example. We still have the nipple invasion with the Paget disease. You can see this mass here and the Paget disease here with this nipple invasion. Axillary adenopathy is still remain in the BI-RADS lexicon. So you have this lesion. You can classify that BI-RADS 4 because it's an oval lesion, circumscribed, homogeneous with a washout, but she's associated with this large lymph node. So this is BI-RADS 5. Here you have an example of speculated mass with extension to the skin. There is skin retraction in front of the mass. And you have this huge lesion here with a skin invasion here. This is also an associated feature you have to describe. And also you can have some invasion of the pectoralis muscles. Here you can see the muscle takes the enhance after contrast injections. This is a sign of invasion of this muscle. Fat-containing lesions, so this is a new section. We didn't have that previously, so we have to describe all lesion with fat. So it could be scar. We have already seen an example, or lymph node like this one. You have this here a lymph node with a hilum fat, a fatty hilum. Sorry. Implant is a new section also. Now we have to describe the implant. Just in one information, we do not have to classify the implant. If there is a rupture in the implant, you don't have to classify that by BI-RADS 4. It's not breast, this is something else. So you have to say the breast is normal, BI-RADS 2, but there is also a rupture of this implant. So here you have an example of normal implant with the radial folds. This is normal to have this kind of image. It's also normal to have some droplet around the implant. This is completely normal. But don't classify that by BI-RADS 2. The breast is BI-RADS 1 normal, and the prothèses also are normal. Here you have an example, we have already seen that, of linguine sign, which is a sign of intracapsular rupture of the implant. And here you have an example of silicone outside of the implant. So that doesn't mean there is a rupture of this implant. It could be by perforation, as you probably know that the silicone can go out of the implant, and this silicone will reach the lymph node. So you have lymph node bright signal in the lymph node, which is due to the presence of the silicone, but that doesn't mean there is a rupture. And here you have an extracapsular rupture, so the silicone goes out of the prosthesis, and you can see here the prosthesis with the rupture. Location, so doesn't change, so quickly it's very important when you describe something to say where is the lesion, so you have to give the size, left breast or right breast, to give the quadrant, be up, internal, outer, inferior, and also it's very important to say that the depth, if it's interior, in mean or posterior in the breast, and you could give also some distance, the lesion, the distance between the nipple and the lesion, for example, of the skin or the pectoralis muscles. The best measurement is probably the distance between the nipple and the lesion. So in conclusion, there is many new sections in the new BI-RADS lexicon. They try to describe lesion like in mammography, so it's simpler. Now we have almost the same classification between mammography and MRI. The new section we have already shown that, so there is new density, non-enhancing lesion, fat-containing lesion, and implant. So thank you for your attention.